when it's the unknown, you cannot control everything. You have to learn how to let go also. You can't be a control freak about everything. And beauty happens from that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Carganilla Online Variety Entertainment Podcast. Here's your host, Paul Carganilla.
Hello and welcome to COVE. This is the online variety show in which we aim to both entertain and inspire our podcast listeners and YouTube viewers through a variety of art forms, including music, poetry, storytelling, special guest interviews, travel blogs, dramatic readings, so much entertainment, and so much more. I'm excited today to introduce everyone here in the COVE community to a new friend who has an incredible journey from dancing to acting to now casting and producing and dubbing. I can't wait to tell you more specifics about her and introduce you to her. But first, of course, we got to bring the cart back in front of the horse as we do at the top of every episode and say hello to our producer behind the scenes, Mr. Craig Jackman. Hello, Craig.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Oh, this is going to be exciting, Paul. I am looking forward to this interview. I was looking over her resume, and in my opinion, I think she's kind of a Renaissance woman.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about it, especially in the world of entertainment, she's literally been reinventing herself all her life and showing that you can do a lot of things at various times in your life if you have the drive to do it. And no doesn't seem to be much in the way of in her way at all. The word no.
Sure. And I think as we introduce her and you get to know her, you will also be just blown away by the size of her heart and her incredible generosity. That is something that I will say just really, really struck me the first time I met her. And we'll talk more about that. But I will let everyone know the official stuff. Our guest, Fannie Brett-Rabault, was born in, Angoulême, southwest of France. I'm sure I butchered it, and became a child of the National Conservatory. From 6 to 18 years old, she studied ballet, drama, singing, and music analysis. She won 2 golden medals for drama and ballet, and then her ankles got very weak as she knew after high school she wouldn't be able to continue a career as a ballerina. But she continued to honor the stage, not as a ballerina, but as an actor. And after graduating from Flourishing, a premier multidisciplinary professional performing arts training program in France, she moved to Los Angeles in 1994, where she kept growing as a bilingual actress. She worked with James Cameron in Titanic, that is how we met, James Ivory in Les Divorces, and Francis Coppola in Distant Vision, just a few pretty good directors. She also had a band in Paris called Artsy Pop CEO's Production, where she produced 3 albums and exposed herself to intense sessions with mixers and sound engineers. And that's where she was kind of introduced into the dubbing world in Los Angeles in 2018. From 2018 to 2021, she consulted through her company, Seven Holdings Media, at Roundabout Studio as an English dubbing supervisor, voice casting director, and a co-director for 15 series and 16 films. All of these projects were for Netflix, as she has consulted, produced for Encore Voices, some audio descriptions and animations for many other amazing clients like Paramount and Disney, also in English. And in September of 2020, she decided to start taking on projects with her co-producer husband and Seven Holdings Media partner, Maxime Rabon. Seven Holdings Media now has 5 features, and its first series recorded remotely from German to English, US for Paramount Plus. Seven Holdings Media is very proud to share that from their dubbing workshops, they managed to hire 5 students in that series, dubbed in March and April of this year. And they love to give back and create a room for hope for newcomers in the dubbing world. I love that so much. Fannie has a true passion for what she does and gives her actors and co-workers as much compassion and enthusiasm as she can give, and they give right back. As she was pushed by her actors to get back into acting behind the mic, she recently booked Callisto in Call of Duty. So much to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me in welcoming to COVE Podcast, Fannie Brett-Rabault. now that I've butchered everything
No,
of the
absolutely not.
French.
First of all, thank you for, wow. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. Thank you for telling this. It's nice at the end of the year. Makes me feel good about myself. Thank you, Paul.
Well, we've said it before with other guests. When the bio is read, it's like a moment to go, wow, that's been my journey so far. And it's so important to, we say, have a cookie every step of the way. Once you finish a major production or you hit a milestone, to be able to take a second and celebrate it. But then, of course, we move on to the next thing, and we sometimes lose sight of everything that we've done in the past.
It's very true. It's very true. And it looks good on paper like this. But I realized that there's a moment where, even if there's just those long times where, you feel like you haven't done much in your career, there was a lot of moments where uh, it was very hard for me to push myself. I really enjoyed when I discovered the dubbing department. I learned from the actors' attitude, how they present themselves, the American actors, how they are on time with gratitude, very flexible, very positive, always a nice intention. I'm come from France. Not I'm not here to butcher my country or anything, but French people, we have a little bit of an attitude. They see the negative first. It's hard for them to say thank you.
Hmm.
It's hard for them to receive a compliment also, and to be in that general, like, positive perspective of things. So working with actors made me realize what I was not doing right for myself. It didn't have anything to do with my talent. It had to do with, I just didn't know how to push to, hey, I'm here, hire me, that attitude thing.
Sure.
Um, and I've learned from tremendously, because this is a very hard journey. To me, I don't have much of a career really, because I didn't honor yet, like, a big, character for a series or a film, and then, I switched into the VO world. So I'm not really on camera anymore, but it's coming back in a way though. It's interesting. And it's funny. We never, like, capable of enjoying the process really, because if we book something nice, once we booked it and it's done, we're afraid that we're not going to book another one.
Sure.
And, even if you make a living with what you love to do, you're still an independent contractor. So it's never really comfortable. It's really a choice of life that's not for everyone. Even if you're really talented, you
Hmm.
really have to think, if you want to engage yourself into the unknown. It's constantly the unknown. And that's what I love, because when it's the unknown, you cannot control everything. You have to learn how to let go also. You can't be a control freak about everything. And beauty happens from that. But it's also, um, Greg was saying something very nice during the introduction, and I'm going to remember that, Greg. Thank you. You were talking about renaissance, and reinventing myself. And I mean, truly, guys, uh, not only to artists like us. Yes, I've been reinventing myself, ballerina, couldn't dance, acting, singing, directing, casting, now still acting again, da da da. And then what's next, sweetie? You know what? AI is destroying my business within the next 3 years. So I'm going to have to reinvent again. It's just the way it is.
What?
Sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. One thing that really struck me with when we met, and I'll let everybody know, we met actually at the Titanic conference in Las Vegas this past August. And I went over and I wanted to meet her and get an autograph, and she just immediately just opened up and brought over a chair and said, "Sit down. Who are you? Nice to meet you. Let's talk." And we sat down and we had like a 30-minute conversation.
Yes.
I
Yes.
couldn't believe how personable you were, how open you were, how warm and just so welcoming. And I could just see, and we had a conversation about this, about LA and the industry and how my kids are actors now, and just staying sane. And
Oh, by the way, did your kid got the part? Did she get the part?
yeah, Everly's worked for you at least once, I think, so far.
Yeah, you have very talented kids, both of them.
Well, thank
Very
you.
talented. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, I was blown away by in just the short conversation that we had, just like the
Yes,
size of your heart and how much you cared about the people. And
yes,
this industry can be so cutthroat, so cold. And you were just a shining beacon of light to me that day. And I was just like, you're amazing. You're the kind of person I want to have on my show. Would you
yeah.
do it? And you jumped on. And before we go any further, because I feel like I could talk to you all day long, we kind of just skipped over one of our favorite parts of the podcast to do at the very beginning, and is to take 60 seconds to not think about the professional stuff. Just think about you as a person and your life, and tell us everything that your resume didn't tell us about you, anything that you can hit on in 60 seconds or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I discovered that I have a gift with my hands, and I've been learning angelic magnetism for a while now, which is like basically I went back to my country after 8.5 years for 2 weeks in August, and I met a Reiki woman, and she was very powerful. She did some energy work on me, and she's like, "You can heal with your hands, sweetie." It's like it's there. So I've been reading about it, working with my energy and with my hands. And my husband, he had like major 2 days ago, like his tummy was hurting. He had bad food poisoning or something. He was going to the bathroom a lot. And he's like, baby, my tummy hurts, my tummy hurts. So I did some work on him, put my hand, and I healed him in like 5 minutes. Then he had some issues with his face the other day, and I passed it. So I'm starting to test my ability to, with the energy from my hands, to give some healing stuff, and it works. I'm practicing also. I'm meditating a lot, letting the light in and stuff. But I feel like a fairy now.
That is incredible. Real life magic in the palm of
Yes,
your hands.
yes, 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 Paul. It works. It's really interesting. So I'm not saying, I'm really like a student yet, and learning from my friend, reading the right books, but I definitely feel like sometimes I have lots of energy in my hands. It tinglings, I have tinglings, like it's really there. And I'm testing, of course, my husband is my guinea pig.
Right,
He's
right.
really enjoying it.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. And do you find that have you just started like the meditation stuff, or have you been doing that for a while?
Always been in my life, the spirituality on and off. When I was younger, I was very much a follower. I didn't have much. My parents, I mean, I had a complicated family situation. I was on my own very early,
Mm.
around like 18, 19. So I did, I was like, my first time in Los Angeles, I got there in 1994. I was 24, I think. So I surrounded me, California at that moment is like lots of people that work on the spirituality, yoga and, five rhythm dancing reunions and all that. And then there's a moment where, yeah, I was very much into it. And then there's a lot of crooks also and people that are very obsessed about it. And it becomes too much, some people behaving too much like gurus and stuff. And that's when I'm like, okay, you're not God, all right? We all at the same level on this earth, you're not superior to me, I'm not superior to you. This kind of like those egos show up also, in this world. So, but over time, Paul, I think I piled some knowledge with it, some good books, and I'm really going back into meditation now. I have like some YouTube links that I follow with Reiki masters, just throwing energy at you with their stones. It really works. Um, you have to be clean though. You can't be an alcoholic or a drug addict. You have to have a clean body and not eat crap food. To let. I'm not crazy about being, paranoid about, everything I put in my mouth, right? I mean, yeah, I'll have a little bit of sugar. Yes, I'll have a glass of wine once in a while. Come on, I'm not.
Right.
But I really believe it's our responsibility today, Paul. I mean, especially if you have children also, it's like the information, everything they are bombarding to us and the access we have now. It's so important to, remain clean. You have a clean core, you know what you're giving your people, your children, your family, you're protecting. And you have to be able to adapt again, so being clear and going back to your core, meditating and, knowing, trying to be closer to your purpose as a person, you know.
Being so in touch and connected. That is something that I really want to do more. And I've talked about it on this podcast, but every time I sit down and meditate, I think, why don't I do that more? But I just don't set aside the time for it because, you know, we have
Yeah.
busy lives. But every time I do, it's like, I need to be doing this a lot more than I am.
Well, and you know, Paul, you can do it anytime. You know what I mean? We make like a big thing about it. Like, for example, in the morning when you wake up, before taking your phone, before worrying about the kids, before hearing what your wife has to say, just spend 5 more minutes laying down in bed with your eyes closed and just listen to your breathing. You know, that's it. And just like listen to yourself just before starting, you know, like you know, like when you go to the bathroom, like when you take, you know, your shower and stuff, there's a moment where you can just be with yourself a few minutes. You know, just those little moments that we don't, because we always in our head, you know, but we need to also tell our head to shut the fuck up. And I tell my students, my actors, when I teach them how to dub, you know, it's like, it's really about relying on your instinct and the movement. And then what will come out of your mouth will sound fair. If you connect it to your body and your center, you're going to sound like a fair actor with a real intonation, authentic intention. If you are too much thinking about how you should do it, you're going to sound not right.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be connected to your core to be able to honor a honest delivery, I think.
Being in the moment and not being too much in your head. I think we all battle with that, but
Yes.
once you can master that, then you can, you know, your acting and your performances just take off. Let's talk about real quick your journey professionally. You started with your training, your dance, music, and acting, and then what made you want to come to America?
Um, so at that time, my family went through a very difficult divorce. My mom just, you know, it was difficult, and there was no place for me there. And, you know, I had to get on my way, get on my own, I guess. And I had an uncle, actually my mom's younger brother. He was my godfather, actually, and he lived in America. He was a horse trainer. And when I was a child, he would come back from America, and he was, you know, my favorite uncle. I was very physical with him, always hugging him. You know, it was my first love. You know, like as a little girl. You know what I mean? It's like I would see him, I was like, you know, and I was blushing. You know, I was like really attached to him. He was kind to me, and he would come back from America once in a while. And my head, my little girl's head, I think, you know, I promised myself that one day I would go. There was that. There was a French singer called Julien Clerc who was singing La Californie, La Californie, La Californie n'est pas loin d'ici. Voilà. And then I was very small, but I was like, La Californie. But so I think I kind of like called on
Wow.
my callings at a young age. And then what happened? I was 19. No, I was 20. Yeah, I was 23, 24. I was in touch with a friend of a friend in LA, and I had the opportunity to go there for 3 months. But I obtained a visa at that time. I asked for a babysitter visa, like an au pair visa. And at that time, they were giving it much easily than now. So I asked for a 6 months one, and I got a year one,
Wow.
1 year, which is amazing. So I knew as soon as I got there that I wanted to stay there. So I was an au pair, and I was also studying acting. Went straight back to studying acting in English.
And was Titanic your first big role?
Yeah, I at that time I didn't have my papers. I was starting my second year in America, and I didn't have that passport anymore, or that visa anymore. I was starting to look for a sponsor for my paper situation. It started to become very difficult, and then My boyfriend at that time, we did we got married to help also for my green card situation. We were together, we were in love. I think we were too young to do this, but I think we did that also to help myself. And he was an actor too. And he was like, okay, let's do this because he said, it's not fair. He's like, you're a better actor than me and you can't audition. So he's like, I can't look at myself in the mirror right now. That was very sweet of him. So we did, and I got my manager at that time was helping me to get an agent, and Irv Schechter Company in LA um, told me, no, we can't take you. You have too strong of a French accent. It's true that at that time I didn't know how to drop my accent yet. I was very fresh out of but he said, look, hold on though. I have a very good audition for you. The director wants you to speak American and English, and it's an improv. And I'm like, oh, I love improv. He's like, well, I'm gonna, I'll submit you. I'm not taking you in the agency, but I'm submitting you. And of course, I booked it, so of course they took me in the agency. And they were not very good agents, actually. They didn't send me to anything exciting. I think I had somebody in the agency that looked like me a lot, and that had also the French background. I didn't know who she was, but she was getting all the auditions. Right. So after a while, they did let go of me. They should have pushed me with this. But my manager and them did suck at that time. Now I'm saying it because I don't care. I'm seeing these people. They were not. I was very. I needed to be driven and guided and advised. I was very young, and they just didn't know how to push me, or probably my fault first. I didn't know how to ask for help because I was left alone at pretty young, and so I went on my own at a very young age. So it's very hard for me to ask for help at that time. Now I'm better. But...
And so that's an amazing story that they get you one gig and then you get kicked to the curb. But that one gig is James Cameron's Titanic, and I guess we haven't even said it yet. You play Madame Aubert. Is it Albert or Albar? Aubert.
Very good, Paul.
Most people would know as Benjamin Guggenheim's mistress, and you're at the table in the dinner scene, the first class dinner scene with the whole Jack's speech, make it count speech.
Yes.
And I know from hearing you speak at the conference that you had a whole scene that got cut before.
Oh yeah, the story is actually very sad. So the positive thing is that I stayed in the picture because some people give 6 months of their life, they can't even see their hand in the film. So if we don't see your face in the film, although you spend 6 months on set, your name won't be on the credits. So nobody believes you. You can say whatever you want. Of course you can have pictures or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're not in the credits, you're not getting residuals. Nobody can verify you were on it. So, I stayed on it for just 10 days of shooting, which is very lucky. Now, the reason why James casted me was because he saw that I was very available emotionally, and the scene that I was auditioning for, he wanted to see how in control of my tears I could be. And I was hired to lose it in the lifeboat. Like Guggenheim was supposed to fall from the Titanic, and I was in one of the lifeboats with the ladies, with the first class ladies, and, oh my God, and losing and crying, going hysterical. Like everybody would have remembered me if I would have done this. But unfortunately, what happened is that James spent way too much money at the beginning of the shoot of Titanic because it was on the water tanks, right? The water scenes, right? And of course, there's nothing more difficult than shooting water. It's hell, And he lost a lot of. I think he spent like 3/4 of the budget of the film at the beginning. So 20th Century Fox, everybody was like, okay, this guy is nuts. They started to kill his reputation, making me feel very guilty about it. So basically, I go there. They just done shooting the water tanks, but there is a very, 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 very tense atmosphere on set. Everybody's welcoming you, saying, "Welcome to Titanic." Okay, who are you? What do you do? To Madame Aubert. Oh, okay, over there. All right. Okay, everybody's really tense, and I do my scene around the dinner table scene, as you say, to making it count, and da-da-da. James actually gives me an extra line, which was cut, but whatever. But I belong there. And then he comes to me and he says, look, Fannie, I'm really happy to see you. You're a great actor, but you know, it's going to be interesting for you when you come back because we're going to shoot your scene, you know, and, and then a month and a half goes by. My boyfriend comes and pick me up at my restaurant where I work. And he's like, Titanic just called you. They're coming to pick you up tomorrow at noon to, you know, a limo is coming to drive you to LAX so you can go to Rosarito. And so I leave my job, I pack my bag the next morning, and then I wait in front of my house, and then there's no limos coming for like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm like, I don't have a good feeling. I call them, and thank God I made friends the first time I was there with one of the assistant directors there. She was third AD there. And because I called them and I'm like, guys, you said that I was coming today. Nobody came to pick me up. And she's like, hold on. And then I wait for like, I don't know, an hour on the phone. And then somebody finally comes. I'm like, can I speak to this person? I want to understand what's going on. Finally, she comes and she's like, oh my God, Fannie, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, we had meetings all night long. We had to cut characters, scenes, parts because we have budget issues. We don't need your reaction anymore because Guggenheim's is going to die inside the boat with a whiskey, but we don't need you. Poor me.
Stake through the heart.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But I'm still in the picture and, you know, I still talk about it, but I didn't exist as a true emotional actor there. That's what I was hired for. I didn't get to perform that. So,
yeah.
Frustrating.
But you had the 10 days in the dinner scene. What was the experience like working with James?
James, I mean, as I shared with you at the Titanic con, and I will never stop to say this, there's a lot of people say, hey, he's an asshole. Guess what? The asshole has been giving a lot of work to a lot of people over the years in this industry. And every time I've seen him losing his cool, it's when he's repeating things over 3 times. He doesn't like to repeat himself more than 3 times. I don't like it either. You know, I mean, I'm not good at explaining specifically things many times. I don't like to explain. I like people to shadow me and jump in with me in my teams. I'm not good at explaining either. I'm not saying it's a good thing to say, oh, come on, you know this. You know, no, I mean, it's not, I'm not saying, I'm not encouraging impatience or putting somebody down, but they've been at this guy in so many ways. You know, I mean, the guy had to move to New Zealand because he's so tired of being attacked all the time by idiots that are jealous of him, that want some of his money, that want some of his connections, that want his scripts, who wants whatever. The dude's done so much for everyone, and everybody always has like, yeah, but James, well, he's amazing. He's incredibly smart. He's a gentleman. He's very generous of explaining and guiding and reassuring. It was my first gig. I was terrified, you know, and everybody was very tense. A lot of people were complaining on set. There's a lot of older people. They were like, oh, I like better where I work. And I'm like, go back. You know, it's Titanic. And I was so young, you know, I was just impressed. But at the same time, I was like, wow, so a lot of people are like, you know, complaining, you know, we're being paid. Okay, we work long hours. They're paying us 3 times our salary. Okay, so we okay. All right, we'll remember this all of our lives. So I think the guy is a genius and he's an extremely hard working man. You don't get where you're at by just like this. He's a very hard working man. His brain is continuously creating something, even if he says, I'm in a vacation, I'm not working. He's always thinking about something. Lou, you know, who was at Titanic Con, Paul, shared with me some anecdotes. I mean, him and James are very good friends, you know, and I don't know James as well as Lou knows him, but we agreed on a lot of things. It's like people like to fucking bother people who are making it and are giving a lot of work to other people, you know, and there is this problem with people not being able to be inspired by other people's power because they have power, but they're sharing. With their power, they need you also. You know, I had this experience at a very small level, of course, when I started the dubbing department in Burbank in this big studio for Netflix. I started to give work to directors where they were, one of them, she was, I mean, how can you be so dumb? instead of like being grateful that I gave her her first directing gig at 30 years old, she's trying to get my jobs and sends me lawyer's letter. How dumb can you be? Don't you think that it's going to be said and told, and I'm going to be pointing fingers at you every time? Can you just be grateful when you ask somebody? She was smooching me and I was helping her. She has a kid on her own at that time, blah, blah, blah. I'm helping her. And then all she wants, I want her, I want what she does. I want to be her and give work to other people. It's like, girl, you 20 years younger than me, have some gratitude and show some positive attitude. And those people in the industry, and there's some people like that in any areas of, work. It's just like, if I'm sitting here and you're sitting there might be a reason. Let's be a team, instead of comparing each other, what I can do for you, what I can do against you when it's convenient. Again, with everything that's shifting so fast, it's our duty as human beings to stay close to the people that are well-intentioned, because you know what, Paul, you don't know whose help you're going to need tomorrow. If they're cutting electricity tomorrow, do you have a generator? Who do you know who has a generator close to your house? Whatever. It's like, guys, get ready for the shit to hit the fan. So the petty bullshit is going to be like really not useful.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with how important it is to work together and collaborate. And we here to build each other up. One of the things my friend Kevin Gregg told me a long time ago, he's a mentor of mine, was like, as one hand is climbing up, the other should be pulling up someone else with you.
Yes.
And I love that you are so I can tell, like, at your core, you're all about building each other up and working together and making it, the best product you possibly can collaboratively.
Yes. And it's like, almost also like, when we met, because like, for example, what happened also, you connect with somebody, you connect in the moment. All right. And when I say something to you, I mean it, like your kids, like, you were not pushy at all about it. You're like, oh, so, my kids are actors. And I say, send me what they do. First of all, we always look for kids. They're very hard to find good kids. Okay. And again, I meant it when I looked at you, because what I saw is like a good person who wants to be a good father and knows the difficulty in this industry. We had a great connection when we met. Okay. I didn't promise you anything, of course, because I cannot promise anything about casting, of course. Sure. But if I'm truly connected in the moment with you, and I know you're a solid father, you're not going to be a pain in the ass of a father, first of all, with producers. Because some parents are really annoying, It's not their son's gig, it's their gig. Right. No, it's different. You're in the background. You're pushing your children, you're pushing them. You're not in the light. They are in the light. You're not. First thing. Some parents have a difficulty,
Yeah.
The second thing, I have this opportunity where the age range of your kids, and I could see that your kids had experience, and it's like, oh, right in the moment, I can honor what I shared with Paul. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens, and we both grasp it at the right time. And that's why I asked you, because you know what? We didn't even talk about it. I just gave you the number of the kids. I pushed them with the right agent, and then I'm doing my own thing. I was coming back to France too. I was really jet lagged. So, but it's like, we don't even need to go berserk about it. And so, oh, we connected. Oh, your kid is great. Oh, pop, pop, pop. It happens. And that's it. And we keep going, But then say, oh, and then you go, but Fannie, she walks her talk. Pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, I didn't hear back from the kid and stuff. So I know they did great. Because if I hear back, generally, I'm going to hear bad stuff. If we don't hear back, always good. So you know what I mean? It's like, and then it's just go, because we don't know who's going to need who next.
I mean, I think I sent you a thank you. I tried to. I think I sent you a thank you.
Yeah, you probably did. You probably. When I said I didn't hear back, I didn't hear back from the studio.
Right.
That's what I meant. No, I'm sure we had a perfect exchange, but it's like, it's super important with what we do today. Again, we have different talents. It's wonderful that your kids are actors too. And I'm sure they want to be actors and they're wonderful. And I'm sure you're developing other talents also with them. It's your responsibility as a dad nowadays. You can't only push for acting with your kids, especially if they're good, because they're going to clone them.
Well, yeah. And it's life talents too. Like I jumping back to what you said about James Cameron and when he gets upset, like my kids know the only times I get upset or when I have to say something more than one several times. Like
Yeah,
you should come on. First time
yeah,
listening. Let's go. Um, but
it's
you know,
true.
it's being a good building good life skills, I think, in the kids.
Yeah. Listen when you ask a question. Listen to the answer. You know.
And so back to your journey, you did some films, and then tell me about the transition to dubbing and voice work.
So basically, I went back to France in 2002, and going back to my country was complicated psychologically. The energy is lower and darker in Europe for a lot of reasons. I'm sure you understand, and it's not a negative criticism. It's just a fact. We have less light, we have less sun.
Hmm.
People are a little lower energy. So it was complicated. I lost my dad there. He died at 59. He was the only guy in my family that was healthy, decent, like
Oh wow.
spirited. So yeah, that was very tough. But I met Max. I met my husband, love of my life. He was a wonderful cameraman in Paris, and we decided to move together in 2015. I realized that not sure if I want to continue to go with acting, but I get accepted as a guest at the Actors Studio. So I'm starting to meet amazing actors. I get the bug again, and then somebody at the Actors Studio tells me you would be perfect. Francis Coppola is doing an audition for a live cinema concept. It's a 26-minute films, and he's auditioning himself. So I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And I did. I auditioned. I sang to him La Vie en Rose.
That's
You want
awesome.
a little bit of La Vie en Rose?
Yeah.
Attends, attends. Let me just open quickly the lyrics because I think Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche. Voilà le portrait sans retour de l'homme auquel j'appartiens. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Voilà. So it's a little piece. So basically,
Amazing.
you
We
like
got
that?
some music on the podcast too. I love it. We love to celebrate live music here. I wasn't planning on having any, but wow, that's special. Thank you.
You're welcome, Paul. So I sang that to Francis, and he cut me like a few lines after that, and he's like, "Excuse me, I have to cut you, but I like it very much. Can you speak English without an accent?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, Francis, I can speak with an American accent." And he's like, "Okay, thank you." And then I got it. I was Mrs. Miller. I was the wife of an American who was coming to Italy to sell his concept of television. It was in the 1920, little bit after Titanic time, and I worked with Francis for a whole month.
Wow.
So I learned a lot about directing, improv, all that. He was a wonderful man, very much family oriented, a good person. He deserves his reputation.
Great.
Um,
Love to hear
but
that.
then, huh?
Love to hear that.
Yeah, but for once, I mean, we get a lot of bad news lately, right? About famous people.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's nice to hear that he's not a pedophile. Um, it's the truth though, or a sex trafficker, or. But I started to look for another agent in LA, and I started to hear, a lot of people know Francis anymore. Casting assistants, they don't know who Francis is anymore. So I told my husband, I'm like, look, I don't want to fight for my acting career anymore. I want to do something else.
Hmm.
And I started to learn about real estate. I realized it was too business oriented for me, but not creative enough. And I was introduced to a person who was looking from for someone to help him with his dubbing company, but it was only in French. and I entered with him. I'm not going to mention him too much because he's a horrible person.
Oh,
That guy.
no.
Yeah, horrible person. So very intelligent, but extremely narcissist, will throw you under the bus no matter what. So I'm very, very grateful of what I've learned from that person at the beginning. But, I was also coming from, studio productions, I knew Pro Tools, but, very much about him. So he wanted to enter Runabout Entertainment because he knew one person at Netflix that wanted to learn how to dub. So what I did, I went to Runabout, I created some meetings. I went there with this guy who had his little dubbing company, and I became a producer there who was dubbing, producing, choosing the sound engineers, the director, doing the casting and the coordination. Sometimes I had 5 projects at the same time. So It was 29 months of my life that I was really in a tunnel. I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was independent contracting for this guy. So, I was free of doing what I wanted, but I was setting up a department, which is extremely exciting because you end up creating a department. They don't know what it is, and love that about American people. They'll go, "Oh my God, what is it? What is it? Oh my God, yes, yes, let's audition, let's learn." And, and you start to give new work to VO actors. So just amazing, amazing. Like,
That's cool.
It was really special. Runabout Entertainment is a great facility. They are in Burbank.
We've spent a lot of time there recently. Everly's been doing a regular dubbing gig on a series.
Yeah, Runabout has a family feel to it.
Yeah.
The owners are British people. They like, to throw a little party once in a while. They do gift at Christmas. They're Dawn Clark. She's a little bit of a mama there. I love her. She cares about her employees. And then, the vice president there, Janet Zapata, is also a pretty cool woman. I have lots of respect for her. I could not do what she does. The woman is like all over the place. They open their doors, they let me use their studios, they install our workflow, of course, that's what studios do. That's what they wanted. There was all understood politically, of course. I couldn't become an employee there. They wanted me to, but I'm more creative than just an employee in my head. So,
Yeah.
But yes, that definitely gave me confidence, self-esteem. I started at that time to really own my power as a woman, as a producer, and also as an actor. Acting came back to at that time. I saw also how my brain was functioning. My brain can function really fast on many different levels at the same time. I was impressed. I didn't know I could do so much in such a short amount of time. That's why the guy I was, because he was taking all the money, basically. Whoever was working on one project, so 5, he was being paid for 5, but he was paying me twice a month, the same amount. I tried to get a work contract from him and all that, but he knew what he was doing, he knew. So it's okay. I'm not mad anymore. I felt used sometimes, but the reputation now I do have, because I was there to welcome the actors. I was there to give them confidence. I was there to replace the directors when they were sick or tired or depressed. I was there to make sure that everybody was on time. I was the one communicating with the studio. So, people talk about me and no one talks about him.
Yeah.
So.
And then you made your own thing.
Yeah, I made my own thing. And, he was mad. He was like, everybody was going to think that you encore voices. And I'm like, well, everybody knows I worked for you. I always put you on a pedestal. I said, you're just not grateful that you even at the source of creating that department. I said, I'm happy about it. I'm sorry that I'm happy about it. And you're not. It's your choice. It's your fucking choice not to be able to embrace what you wanted to create. Actually, it was his idea, so it's like, dude, go and work on your issues, but not in my life anymore. I gave him 30 months of my life. It's a lot.
So much of, we just talked about this on a recent episode, of life and the life that we experience between birth and death is about our choices, and not only like the choices, the actions that we choose, but how we choose to feel about certain things and how we choose to react about certain things.
Yes.
Before, I know we're running against the clock here, and I just wanted to pick your brain about, any advice. You've had a long career of chasing the goal, chasing the dream. And a lot of times being on the cutting room floor, or like if it's, in ballet, having the ankle problems, on Titanic, not even getting to shoot your scene. The way that you're able to pivot, and not just pivot, but I don't know, become stronger along the way and build up the team around you along the way is inspirational to me. What, other than the way that you live your life and you've worked throughout your professional career, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe afraid to, or intimidated to take a step and start a journey towards something that they've always wanted to do?
Do it. Do it. I mean, I understand. I mean, for me, it's been, Paul, it's been a lot about surviving. I stopped surviving around 46 years old. I'm 51 today. So I'm not a kid anymore. I've been around the block. I was surviving until I was 46. I started to own my power as a woman, as a human being at around that time. It's pretty late in life. And then again, I think if I had children, I don't think I would have been able to reach that point with myself. It was a choice also not to have kids because I had to do a lot of healing. I saw a lot of trauma as a younger kid. So much more like psychological than anything, but it leaves traces. You got to do a lot of work on yourself to be okay with what happened and heal what you can heal. What I would tell somebody who has dreams and has desires to make things with who they are is, I think TikTok is a great platform right now. I like TikTok because it makes you really facing how honest you are with what you want to accomplish. But today we have no excuse. If we want to be present and be seen as a performer, do it.
You've got a video studio in your pocket. You carry it around with you everywhere, and you have the ability to get out there and be seen. But what I'm hearing from you, the message is be adaptable, be able to pivot, and don't be afraid of new technologies, new stages, new platforms. And if you want to put yourself out there, do it.
Yeah, I think overthinking nowadays is not going to serve us. It used to be more about prepping, planning, Yeah, I understand it's important, but you might have a good idea. Just try it, see what happens. Overthinking is, I think, definitely not serving us today.
Just like being on stage or in front of a microphone, if you're in your head, you're not really living. You're not really giving it your best.
It's not organic. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Fannie, for joining us here on the show. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. Please give it up for Fannie Brett-Rabault.
Very good.
Oh my goodness.
She's awesome.
Boy, there's just so much to take in. Everything that she has done. And I'm gonna go back to her early days. She is still dancing when you think about it. With whatever move she's making, she is dancing to that. And then when she needs to pivot and change, she takes a different turn and it goes into a totally different direction, but she is still in control, still has the poise, the stature, the confidence of going into what it is that she's doing and doing it. And I found a poem on poetrysoup.com that I just think is perfect for this episode. And I'm going to say for her, because it's called We Danced Through Life. And it's a 2012 poem that was written by Bernard Colasurdo. And in a sense, it's not only her, it's not just her as we go through life and we dance through it, but it's everybody.
Can't wait to hear it. Here's We Danced Through Life by Bernard Colasurdo.
We danced among the stars that night, when joy had fallen far from sight. We danced under the sun so bright, and when all seemed lost, we held on tight. We danced to the music of hummingbirds, and we danced in the silence when there were no words. We danced in the shadows of fear and doubt, and we danced when we questioned what life's about. We danced among the evergreens that posed for painters' winter scenes. We danced in the winter's bitter chill, and when we danced, our world stood still. For that's what love was meant to be, to find the dance when we cannot see, to write a new song when the music stops, with lyrics that caress every tear that drops. For when the rhythm changes and tempo slowed, we're called to dance with the seeds we've sowed. For life is hard, there is no doubt, but dancing through it is what life's all about.
I encourage everyone out there to check out Fannie and her husband Max's production company's website, 7holdingsmedia.com. That's 7, the number 7, not spelled out, holdingsmedia.com. Go check out all the amazing projects they're working on over there. And of course, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy this show, I invite you to please consider becoming a member of our COVE Patreon community at patreon.com/COVE podcast. Bounce over there, click around, check it out. Take a look at all the exclusive perks you can get by becoming a member of our COVE Patreon community, like special bonus request episodes every month, access to archives of our live recording sessions, special episode shoutouts, and so much more. Please take a look at patreon.com/COVE podcast. And of course, we hope to see you next week, either on your favorite podcast platform or on our YouTube channel, covetube.com. Until then, make each day count.
I put the coat on her!